There you go.
There we are. Hello, everybody. We are now in our April 2nd episode here of Between Two Teachers and talking about education issues all over. So my name is Consuelo Lara.
And I'm Madeline Cronenberg. And as always, we greet you from the sacred land of the Chochenyo Karkin Ohlone community. The community, and we thank them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray here on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and all Ohlone people of the past and present. And I love hearing more and more land acknowledgements. They really are spreading. I've said this before, but it really is true. I've gone to a number of other meetings where the land acknowledgement is becoming a standard thing to do. I think it's really important. We can start. There is actually education news internationally. And of course, it's around COVID. And the news is that right now in Europe, there is another wave of COVID deaths. And it's very strong. And it's impacted, finally, something that they hadn't done before. It's caused them to close their schools. So the schools are in fact closed right now in Italy. And very surprisingly, they're also closed right now in France. And France had worked really hard to keep their schools open. And there's a graphic I have that shows the number of weeks of virtual learning that students in different countries have had. And so in the United States, we've had 43 weeks of virtual learning because we have stayed home on average, right? And I think in California, it's even more. In France, it's 9 weeks. So they did not stay home. They stayed home in the beginning and then they basically went back. And now they are home. And they're home because they have had spread, serious spread. And the most shocking story is a story in Paris within the last 2 weeks, where a Parisian school had reported the death of 20 parents, which is an extraordinary number. And think parents are younger people. It's not like grandparents. 20 parents passed away from one school. And so that has gotten them to realize that there can be transmission from children. I mean, it has to be, because these parents were not hanging out with the teachers. They were with their own children. That's what it had to be in that group. That really was the proof that is what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And they weren't testing the children, right? It was because everybody's making the assumption, oh, they don't catch it, they don't carry it, but they need to be.
That's right. There was no testing of children.
Testing. Yeah.
Right. But this is the proof. You don't need to test. Now you can work backwards from the fact that happened. So they are now on lockdown for a month. The country is on lockdown for a month. Right. Macron came out and just said it, and you're not moving anywhere. And they have also been very slow in doing their vaccinations.
Oh, I was just going to ask.
They're much slower than us. Wow. They're like at a third the pace of the United States. And we are living in Contra Costa County, where we are actually ahead. We are the first county in the state of California to be able to offer vaccinations if you're 16 and above.
Yep.
Right. And they started Tuesday. They took applicant. My daughter went on Wednesday because all of a sudden these vaccinations were available.
Yep.
So we're very different from France.
Yeah.
So for right now, from France, they're thinking if you're over 60, maybe you'll get it in June.
Oh my goodness. Oh dear.
So it's very different.
Wow.
Right. And they also have they've got a lot of challenges. And so the issues around corona, it's not over. The coronavirus issues are not over. Right. And it's a shame, but that's the fact. Yeah. Nationally, when we look at what's happening, you've got the schools that are reopening unevenly throughout the country and certainly unevenly in California. Right? California is at the end of the line in terms of the reopening. The governor has done what he thinks he's needed to do to be able to move, to offer additional resources to districts to be able to make it easier for them to open. And he's put timelines on it, which also are something. So in West Contra Costa, everybody wants to pick up the money that's on the table. And the only way you can do that is if you offer an opening plan. But there's a big range of what these plans are. And they all require participation from your labor partners. And that has created enormous sets of problems for everybody. So West Contra Costa is opening on April 19th.
Yep.
But of course, it's not a full 5 days. It's under a very, it's under a the teachers are participating voluntarily. The teachers need to be vaccinated. The teachers need to, will also have small groups to teach. So if you're going to have only 10 children in the room that you're going to be teaching, then someone else is teaching your children virtually, the other children. Just it means that everybody is not going to go in and have the opportunity to be in the in-class environment.
Yeah.
And they still don't know the percentage of teachers who want to go in.
No, they don't. It's voluntary. So, they have.
In
to-
Oakland, only 38% of the teachers went back. It was also voluntary.
Yeah, yeah.
So the expectation that they could open certain of the schools was impossible because the teachers weren't returning.
So what happens if the teacher says they don't want to return, but the students say they do want to return? How do they?
Well, they're not going to get matched up. So that becomes that's the interesting thing.
You can get a different teacher, right?
Yeah.
Ones who aren't going to come in.
Yeah. But they're also prioritizing the children. Right? And so you have that. You've got two things. You've got this academic group, and then you have other children who are coming before and after, essentially for enrichment and the opportunity to be with other children.
Other children.
To be at school. So it's a complicated system. And that makes it harder to pull it off, to tell you the truth, right? Because the more complicated something becomes. They're also saying that teachers are going to have another person in the classroom to assist them, especially if they're I don't know if they're going to be teaching on Zoom, but if you are teaching on Zoom to other children who aren't there, then somebody has to be paying attention to somebody in the classroom. And so that means additional staff.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? Or redeploying all of your administrators and your classified, right? So all of that has to be worked out, right? And also they haven't voted on it yet. As of this minute, the vote hasn't been completed. The board has made an offer and teachers have, and the unions, they haven't finished their vote. So we don't know, but I'm assuming that they'll be voted on. So meanwhile, there are all the lawsuits, the people who've been busy, who have been working, and everybody's been working. That's the other thing. It's not like school hasn't happened, but it's happened virtually, right? A harder way. That's how it's happened. But the lawyers have also been working, and UTLA has been sued by the Freedom Foundation in a 525-page complaint for personal injury. That's just been filed. San Francisco has been sued by the city of San Francisco. San Diego was sued by parents. San Francisco was sued by one of their school board. Well, there was one of their school board members who had some controversy over some tweets that she had several years ago, which have been construed as being racist. And she's African-American, and the tweets were about the Asian community that her children were going to, where her children go to school or went to school then. She was, her board removed her as vice president. Right? So they can't recall her. She's an elected person, right? But what they can do, the thing that a board can do is they can determine whether or not you're going to be an officer of the board, and they can determine if what your committee assignments are.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, the committees.
So
yeah.
They
Oh.
stripped her of being an officer and being on the committees. So she is suing them for $87 million. So that was also this week. And then you have all of the parents who are unhappy with the results and how their boards have come to conclusions about whether schools are going to come back or not. And the largest district to not come back and to decide to stay in distance learning in the Bay Area is Fremont. And they decided 2 nights ago that they would not be able to come to a conclusion and a solution to return. So they are not returning. They are, however, doing hubs. They
Yeah.
are doing hubs, but their teachers are not involved in their hubs.
Okay.
Right? So they're doing hubs with non-certificated people, apparently. So there's them. And then there are recall efforts around the school boards in Mount Diablo and the school board in Benicia so far.
That's really a shame.
It's all a shame. And the last thing I'm going to just even say about this was when I was looking at all this and just, you can just feel the pressure everybody is under, because there's such such tension, right? People are trying to serve their children, and you can just see it in all of these things that are being written. And I was looking at this change.org petition for California to Governor Newsom, put out by some parents. There are about, I don't know, 1,000 parents who've signed a petition. And I had done a search. And if you go on change.org and you search reopening schools, you get 1,500 petitions.
Jeez. Wow.
A sign of the time. And I bet if you had done that a year ago, you'd get maybe 5. I mean, because schools were not closed. You would not have, these are all a consequence of coronavirus.
Gosh, that's crazy. You know, one of the things that reminds me of when CSBA had their legislation week, and one of the talking points had to do with liability, because they were saying that there's going to be a lot of lawsuits, and some of the legislators were like, what is this about? You know, what, really? You think there will be? Well, guess what?
Yes.
This there are. And so to increase funding for liability insurance for districts, because there you go. It's true. People are going to take advantage of whatever opportunities they can. And the other sad thing about it to me is, you know, about we try to not make decisions when you're under a lot of stress, you know?
Right.
And that's not what people are doing. They're really making rash decisions under all this pressure, when what you need at the top in leadership, you need something stable. Okay, maybe they're not perfect and maybe we'll get rid of them afterwards, but for the time being, keep it stable for now to get through this trauma.
Right.
But they're not thinking, oh, get rid of the board. Oh, get rid of the superintendent, get rid of, no, this is not the time to be doing that kind of thing. We need, you know, hopefully you have smart, strong leadership, but at least consistent, stable leadership for a while, just for the time being.
Well, you have the perfect example of that in your recent experiences in Oakley.
And you know, when yeah, they do have now, so there was the 3 of us from the county. And then when I was there, we did Miss Lynn Fuller, Miss Fuller. And then the last meeting, we added Miss Seat, Sarah Seat. And she's also wonderful. She was highly recommended by the various unions who had the opportunity to, you know, vet her as well. So she's involved in the community and she believes in teamwork, etc. So with those on there, they didn't need me anymore. So they said, that I could leave. So that was fine. But I
So
think
you
that
were a short termer. You were a 2 meeting
was-
person or a 2 month person. Right?
yeah, just 2 meetings. And so, but I think about how they got rid of that board and the reasons some of the board members said, they were responding to a lot of stress that they were feeling about the whole reopening. Everybody's putting pressure on everybody. And, you know, I just hope that those individuals, I'm sure they're good, upstanding citizens of the community, that people understand, and sometimes people can make amends, and we got to practice forgiveness when people do things that they don't, they're not proud of. So
Right.
hope that that ends well and those individuals are, doing well also. But it looks good. There was a great pool of community people there. That's a great little community. I have to say, I'm really, really proud of them. And it was an honor to help serve for that short period of time. So that got
But
done.
they're almost ready, right? That the rest of the county board will also leave once they select the at-large members, right?
They got 2 now, and so they need 3 more, and those will be at large. And what the good thing was that they had plenty of time, the unions and the community had plenty of time to vet the ones that they, would recommend. So really, it was a lot of community input in those. So I think that they're going to have a good group. They're going to have a really good group.
And they too are now looking at their next steps for reopening, right?
Yes, yes. So the pressure is on. They want to start as soon as possible. The think the superintendent felt the heat. He knows he's on the line here. He's got to open
And he
up.
has a plan. There's a plan for
Yes.
them to,
They
do
do.
they have a hybrid plan, an A/B plan, or
I don't remember.
but they do have a plan.
They
right?
have a plan. Yeah. And so they have it posted on their website, in fact. So very extensive kind of plan. So let's see. So the reopening, of course, of schools, that's the big thing for us all over the county. And for this district, there's a lot, they're waiting just for the unions, right, to approve. The board has said yes with the plan. And so it does.
The vote is in process, right? As of right now, the vote is still in process. So
Well, maybe by the end of the day, we might
Yeah.
even know. And then other things are happening in other parts of the county. And so we got our Contra Costa County Office of Education connection, and there's other things happening. We had, let me see here, gosh, so much stuff. There's the opening of a new school in Pittsburgh, Parkside. I taught in Pittsburgh for a while. I remember Parkside. It was a school that was built in the 50s. So now they have a brand new school over there. That's nice. And California High School was named the Contra Costa County Mock Trial Champions. California High School in that San Ramon.
Mhm.
And so that's nice. And what else? Of course, there's Read Across America. There's a Doherty High School student that earned an award with her video documentary. So that was, what was the dangers of youth vaping? Oh, that's good.
Good for her.
Good. It'll be aired throughout the day on April 6th on C-SPAN. Oh, so check that out. That sounds good. There's the regional academic decathlon, and Capilindo took first place that high school contest. And let me see, sponsored. Oh, of course, the learning hubs. They're growing. The county itself is contributing to about one for 250 students in 17 different locations. And there's a lot of partnerships that go into that. So those are operating. There's a special education teacher of the year, Sarah Buhre, B-U-H-R-E. baby. So she was named the Teacher of the Year in an early ceremony in March. And here's a shout out. This shout out goes to Pinole Valley High School student who won the Poetry Out Loud County Championship. And here's what he says about himself. I am a 17-year-old senior at Pinole Valley High School who is part Black and Filipino. I enjoy playing instruments, making music, swimming, singing, and most of all, reciting poetry. So his performance won for the county. So we wish
And
him-
what is his name?
His name is Jermaine Gitana. Jermaine,
All right.
so Jermaine.
Congratulations. Jermaine Gatana gets the Between Two Teachers shout out for April 2nd.
Absolutely. So that's great. And are we ready for our,
We are ready for our joke.
okay, our joke. Okay, so, what goes up when the rain goes down?
I don't know. What goes up when the rain comes down?
Umbrellas. Thank you,
Here,
Carlos.
our teacher who is still in her pandemic clothes. I'm leaving her up until the pandemic is officially over, I think. She's
Oh,
laughing at that. She would get that joke.
yeah.
That joke was good in 1918 when we took this picture.
Absolutely.
All right. We're good. We're ready to say goodbye and see you all next time.
See you later.